How's it going, everyone? Mike the Warhost here, and today we'll be talking about one of the most anticipated posse releases since the beginning of 2nd edition, how they work on the tabletop, and the best way to go from just a posse box to a full-size tournament list. This is one of the most highly anticipated posse releases in the game's history, as it included enough units to finally make a fully fledged Tombstone posse for dedicated Lawman players. Martha Earp has been a collector's white whale for years, and now he's finally available. And to make the deal even sweeter, he also comes with 2 additional units that can join a Tombstone posse as well, thanks to Martha and James Earp. We'll be talking about the Shield of Tombstone posse in a later video though. Today we're focusing primarily on the trio of lawmen that come in the posse box. As a reference, we'll be using stat card version 3.04C for today's discussion. Posse bonus for Vengeance of the Earps is rather useful. Any unit in the posse can re-roll failed crit checks if they are within 5 inches of a unit with the Tombstone and Mounted traits. Unlike Hardy though, these can be used against attacks with any trait including Blast or Torrent if they're close enough. The Vengeance of the Earps posse box contains 3 models adding up to a measly 49 points and 3 fortune. In the box, you get the following: Martha Earp, Martha Earp, James Earp, 3 iron horses. Martha is your posse boss and is no slouch in the combat department. She comes with Dead or Alive, giving her Iron Ass baton attacks lethal against stunned or disordered targets, as well as Hardy for free grit rerolls. Surefoot lets her ignore the penalty for uneven ground and lets her reroll quick checks. Honorable for Ambition lets Martha exchange the boss trait and largesse for the face trait and teamwork to join another posse. Bulky ensures these units can't hunker down at all, forcing them to stay mobile. She, along with the rest of the units in the posse, come with a new special rule called Snapshot. This allows a unit to effectively do a drive-by while moving. They can take a single shot with a -2 aim penalty at a target during a regular run action. While this doesn't seem entirely useful on its own, it does make sense when you consider the other new rule the Earps share. Fixed Weapons is a new rule that states the Gatling guns can only be used if the initial target is between 2 imaginary lines running parallel to the sides of the stadium base. This can be a bit tricky at first when using the new turning template, so Snapshot gives the Earps more shooting opportunities while maneuvering. Martha comes with an Iron Ass baton for melee attacks, as well as a Plasma 6 shooter for snapshots, as well as the usual Gatling guns for iron horses. One important note is that all units in this posse lack Quicken the Dead, so pay attention to where they end up after run actions. Martha Earp has a bit more offensive power than his sister does and can be tougher to take down. Like the rest of the Martha Earps, he comes with Bulky to prevent hunkering, Snapshot for opportunity shots, Fixed Weapons restricting the use of Gatling guns, Dead or Alive to boost his melee attacks, and Surefoot for ease of travel across the board. Unlike his sister though, Warren has Counterstrike to get a free swing action against a melee opponent, and Dying Breath to get one last shot off before becoming wounded and leaving the battlefield. On top of the same Iron Ass baton and Gatling guns, Warren has both a blaster pistol and blaster carbine, so he can range out a bit farther than his sister for snapshots. James Earp is a bit more durable than the others, but works largely the same way. He comes with both durable and hardy to weather most incoming attacks better than his fleshy compatriots. Just remember, both rules don't work with blast or torn attacks, and durable is also cancelled out by shred attacks. Other than that, he's identical to Martha in loadout and rules. One major point to note with this posse: none of the units here have the Tin Man special rule, and only Martha has the martial trait to give Tin Man bonuses to anyone else. So plan your movement accordingly throughout the game. Now that we know what you're getting, how do we build an effective tournament list? As usual, the first decision you need to make is how big you want your Vengeance of the Earps posse to be. If all you want is an effective second posse to tack on to a bigger force to flesh out your list, you're all set. If, however, the idea of a highly mobile lawman force is appealing to you, keep watching. The posse box contents will satisfy all of the must-include bullet points in the posse list, which will leave you with 3 slots with the lawman and mounted traits, as well as 1 slot for any units with the lawman and K9 simulacra traits. As of the writing for this episode, there are 6 units with the mounted traits: Iron Horse Deputies, Jedrick Powell and 2020, Ranger Blackjack, Ranger Heavy Interceptor, and Ranger Gyrocopter. Out of these, only legendary Jedrick Powell has the Sheriff trait, so he'd be the only other unit in the posse able to give out fortune to other Tin Man units aside from Martha. And since Martha only has 3 fortune to dole out for the rest of the posse, this would turn Jedrick into a massive target for your opponent. Another issue with this list currently is the lack of available models. Only the Iron Horse deputies and Jedrick Powell minis are easily obtainable. Interceptors are a bit more prominent to their inclusion in the Red Oak starter sets from last edition. But blackjacks and gyrocopters are almost impossible to find nowadays, and without a solid time frame for their re-release, you'd largely be stuck with just Iron Horse deputies and Jedrick. We may get other mounted lawman units in the future, so we're not so reliant on Jedrick in this list, but for now it's really hard to justify using Vengeance of the Earps as a primary posse. They're best suited as a secondary posse to fill in remaining points for other lists. If you're dead set on bringing a Vengeance of the Earps posse as a main force, the best way to do so would be to split your forces into two prongs, Martha on one side and Jedrick on the other. Keep both units screened with other mounting units to provide cover and move up the board. You can forget about any objectives. This is a purely offensive list. If I were running this, I'd put James with Jedrick's half to tank as much incoming fire as possible while using Warren alongside Martha as a bit of a dead man switch thanks to Dying Breath. And hope you don't end up rolling the upper hand adventure. Well, that's going to do it for me today. Stay tuned for more Wild West Exodus, Mythos, Fog and Friction, and Dystopian Wars content in the near future, as well as some looks at Lost World Exodus in the not so near future. Maybe. At some point. Please? All right, take care, everyone.